Hello, my name is Patrick Hoke. I'm the product manager for Nidec US Motors. What I'd like to talk to you today about is low voltage AC drives and our pump panel. First, let me get into a little bit something new that we have, and we're calling it our ACCU-Series brand. It's an umbrella brand for all of our variable speed product. What this brand is targeted to do is not have a brand name for each product, but it has, like I mentioned before, an umbrella brand name for all variable speed product that Nidec US Motors offers. So what this idea is to get the customer a brand name for all the components, the same brand name for all the components in a variable speed drive system. So as you can see here on this slide, ACCU-Series drives, ACCU-Series panels, ACCU-Series motors. So we start on the drives. Each drive has its own product name, but it falls under the ACCU-Series name, meaning that these ACCU-Series drives are compatible with the ACCU-Series motors on the right side. So as you can see, this is just an umbrella brand that we're going for to put under and group all of our variable speed product, because now Nidec is driving towards or moving towards a Nidec drive system solution. So that's just an overview of our new ACCU-Series brand name, because you're going to be seeing a lot of it. So let's jump into the drives, the low voltage AC drives. The first one I'd like to talk about is the US Motors brand drive. As you can see in the slide, we go from about 1/10 of a horsepower up to 5 horsepower on these drives. And these drives have enclosures ranging from IP20 all the way up to IP65. These are hybrid style drives, and I'll get into the details on that in a little bit. But takeaway from this slide is about 1/10 of a horsepower up to 5 horsepower hybrid drives. So the next one we offer, these are the digital output drives. You can see it's got the digital output on the front that you see now standard on more drives. It's kind of when you see a drive, this is what you're picturing a little bit. The first one we have on the top there is an 8700E. This goes from 1 to 30 horsepower. As you can see, we have both single phase and 3-phase options. We have multiple voltage options as well on both of these, 3 and single phase. On the bottom, you can see the 81000. That goes from above 30 horsepower all the way up to 650 for variable torque and 500 for constant torque due to the D rate. But the takeaway from this slide, generals, 8700, 1 to 30 horsepower, above 30 horsepower up to 650, you're going to select the 81000. So let's get down into each one of these types of drives and see which each has to offer. So the first one we're going to talk about is the US brand hybrid drives. So first of all, what is a hybrid drive? Well, it's still got a digital board on it, but it doesn't have the digital output. So what it has is, as you can see on the front here, it has a much simpler output for applications that don't require a lot of parameter setting or a lot of feedback for the drive to control the motor. All the application requires or the end user needs is something that can adjust the speed of the motor. Now, if you open this up, which is very simple to do, there's a lot of options in there. Not as many as a digital drive, but there's a lot of options. You can change from 50 to 60 hertz, so you don't have to buy a whole new drive if you're moving it to a different country. You just have to move a jumper from 50 to 60 hertz. You can double the speed of the motor just by moving a jumper. You can switch from 115 to 230 volts by moving a jumper. There's a lot of options in there and a lot of small knob adjustments in there, but it's not digital output. So what you see here is the IP20 version of it. Like I said, basic drive, got quite a few options on how to change and adjust your application, but the user interface is very simple with the knob to control the speed and the on-off switch. So you can see here, this is the USAC hybrid drive, same kind of components as the previous one, but it's in a 4X IP65 enclosure. So the same type of thing. You're going to open it up and you have all of those adjustments, but it's in a much higher enclosure type. It's going to be used in a lot rougher environments. The last thing that the US Motors brand drive offers is a chassis style drive. And this is for somebody who has an application that they're using over and over again, and they don't really want or need adjustment in the field. So what we can do is set up this chassis style drive for a certain type of motor, and then they put it in the application and it runs however they need it to run, and nobody can really adjust it unless you actually flash it on there. So it's a chassis style drive. They put it in there so you don't have any actual user interface that when it's sitting on the floor nobody can really adjust it. So those can be some uses, especially if you don't want the people on the floor adjusting it, or if you don't need that type of on-demand adjustment and you just need a drive to run your motor at variable speed. So those are the options that the US Motor brand drive, low voltage AC drive, has to offer. So the next drive we're going to go into is the 8700E. As you can see here, here's a picture of the 8700E. It looks much different than the US Motors brand because it's got the digital output. You can see it's got the up and down arrows, the stop and the go buttons. Here you can see these are the real selling points of this 8700E here, you know. Central perspective, it actually has a lot of options and it can be used on a lot of different types of motors. So if you're stocking a smaller drive, this is a great option to stock because it works on multiple types of motors, not just induction style. So it's simple commissioning. It's only got 14 parameters that you have to set to get it started. A lot of the drives in the market have much, much more than that. Now it has a total of 60 parameters if you really want to get down and really adjust certain things about your application, but 14 simple parameters and this thing will run just fine and do whatever you need it to do. It's got an easy keyboard, or keypad, sorry, and it's got application macros for industrial, pump, and then fan. So it does have some preset macros that can really get you started quickly in certain applications. So here again, here are those those application macros in a little bit more detail. So you have your industrial mode, your pump mode, and your fan mode. So again, these are all just macros that are pre-done into the drive or pre-programmed into the drive for these certain types of applications that will really help speed up the startup process in the field. Oh, sorry, my clicker got a little out of hand there. So you might ask, okay, what's the difference between the 8700 and the US Motors brand drive? Because there is some type of overlap. So we put this slide here together just to kind of put it over. So the 700 it has the 14 parameters. It's a digital drive. So if your customer doesn't quite know exactly what they need out of their application or out of their drive for their particular application, or they want something to set on the shelf for stock because they don't know what application it's going to go into, the 8700 up to 30 horsepower is key right there because it has so many different options and it can do so many different applications. But if the end user or the customer really knows what they want and it fits the horsepower range of the US Motors brand drive, this is going to offer a simple solution with quite a bit of adjustment in the needed application if it's simple enough and they don't require that digital output from the motor. So they both have their own advantages and they both work really well in the applications if they're selected correctly. So in order to select them correctly, we put together this little selection chart. As you can see at the top, you know, if it's greater than 10 horsepower, it's not going to be a US Motors brand drive at all. So you're going to go over and you're either going to select an 8700E or an 81000. But let's say it's under that 10 horsepower range. Where do I go? Do I go to an 8700 or do I go to a US Motors brand? So when the US Motors brand, like I mentioned before, it's simple, you know, or if you need a higher amount of enclosure or a higher amount of protection from your enclosure. So if you need an IP65 on a 5 horsepower drive, you're going to the US Motors brand. If you don't need that amount of protection and you're not really sure what kind of application you're going on, or the customer really doesn't know how he's going to use that drive, you might be led towards the 8700 because it has a lot more options and a lot more parameters that they can set. So this really comes down to what application they're putting it in and what does the end user expect out of this drive. But hopefully this selection chart here will help you out. So let's talk a little bit on, you know, above 30 horsepower, what do? We have the 81000 answer drive. So as you can see here, we have quite a bit of options with respect to the competition. But what you're really going to use this for, the 81,000 is really focused towards pumps and fans, so those variable torque applications. Again, it's got all the parameters you need, and it's got preset macros or preset functions for pumping applications. So again, if you're up above 30 horsepower, you're going to an 81,000, and it's only digital, but you're going to go all the way up to 650 horsepower. What we do use the 81,000 in is our pump panel. So our pump panel incorporates the 81,000 drive along with the features you see here in an 3R enclosure. So this pump panel is set up, it's specifically targeted towards the agricultural market, but it doesn't have to be used in the agricultural market. But what this is really for is it's going to incorporate your drive. You're going to put the power into the panel itself and put the power out to the motor, and everything on the inside then is all you need to do is run the drive, and it incorporates all of your input and output into a single panel. And then as the motor manufacturer, US Motors, then has the entire drive system from the power line in to the motor drive output mechanically. So that's the Nidec drive system, that kind of theory that we're getting towards. So we're going to offer the drive, the panel to put the drive in, along with the shutoffs and things required. You can see them all over here on the right side of the slide, all the way through to the motor and doing the output mechanical power to the driven equipment. So again, that goes to what is the Nidec ACCU-Series advantage? What is the advantage of the ACCU-Series umbrella brand, where we can say, we're giving the drive solution to the customer. We're giving a Nidec US Motors drive solution with ACCU-Series products. Well, the first thing is, system compatibility. You're getting every part of the system from the same manufacturer. An extended warranty, which we'll get into, the service and support comes from this. It's the same thing as the first bullet. System compatibility is coming from the same manufacturer on all of them. So when you have a problem, there's a single point of contact for service and repair. And then with some of the acquisitions that we've had with Nidec Avtron, we've got experienced application support that can come out and support in the field if required. So we'll get into here, this is one of the most exciting things about being able to offer ACCU-Series products together. So what this is what we call a motor match warranty. So basically, if you buy a new drive and a new motor, we're going to match the motor warranty for the drive. So the current industry has maybe a 2-year warranty on the drive. But if you buy a US Motors drive or an 81,000, 8700 drive with a US brand motor that's inverter rated or inverter duty, then we'll give you a motor match warranty, where we're going to match the warranty of the motor. We're going to bring the drive warranty up to match that of the motor. So that's something that we're really excited about. Another thing, as I mentioned before in the advantages, is the single call service. So we have the support of sister companies at Nidec in their drive experiences, but we still want a single point of contact that the customer can call with either a drive or a motor issue. So the service call numbers are still the same from the motor standpoint that everybody's always called for the drive. So if you have a drive or a motor issue, you're calling the same number. Also, all of the drives that I've talked about today and the panel are in stock in our South Haven facility, so they're ready to go. So place your orders now. If you have any questions, please contact your local sales rep or contact me, Patrick Hogue, directly. Thank you.